Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I set this shot up perfectly and now the beautiful sun has come up and I can't see anything, but I'm hoping it still looks fine. You might be wondering, Anna, why are we outdoors? Well, let me tell you. Oh, thank God the sun's going away, I might be able to see. Recently, Ariel Bissett, who is one of my favourite people on the internet, did the environmental book tag, which is where she talked about books that she really loved or wanted to read, which focused on the environment. And while I may not be Greta Thunberg, I do love the natural world. I love being outside. I love the environment. So I thought, what better way than to go outside, spend a bit of time in nature and talk about books. Question 1. What is your favourite book cover with nature on it? So the first one that came to mind was Bone Gap. It's about this boy who meets this girl who's a beekeeper. It's got elements of magical realism. I wasn't sure about the ending, but I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. Then we have Where the World Turns Wild. This is also a children's book. Maybe we need more beautiful adults books. But this one I just love. I haven't read this yet, but I believe it's about a boy and a girl who have to stand up against capitalists who don't respect the environment, and it sounds brilliant. And then the next one was October, which I loved. Honestly, if you haven't read this book, I cannot recommend it enough. It is so good. It's about this girl who lives in the forest with her dad, and then her dad has an accident which forces her to move to the city. And it's all about her deep relationship with nature. She tries mudlarking. She discovers that there are natural elements to an urban lifestyle as well. It's brilliant. And then the 4th one was Woven in Moonlight, which I haven't read yet, but I do own, and I just love the cover. So let's go for a little walk and then I'll answer the next question. Question 2. Have you read a fiction book where climate change was a theme? If not, are there any on your TBR? Now, I had to think really hard about this, which really surprised me, because if someone asked me, have you read a book about climate change? I'd be like, yeah, of course I have. But I'm not sure if I have. Not one that I can think of recently anyway. So I think I'm going to have to turn to my TBR, Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. This was recommended to me on the Books Unbound podcast, I believe, which is by Ariel Bissett and Raylene LeMay, and it's brilliant. If you love books and you're looking for a podcast, definitely check that one out. I'll link it down below. But it sounds really interesting. So I think it's about these refugees, I believe, that are given the option to go to another place in the world through a portal, like through this door, but they don't know where it's going to be. And they don't know if it will be worse than the place that they're already in. And apparently this has quite considerable themes of climate change in. So I can't wait to read that one. I do have it. I ordered the hardback because I much preferred the cover to the paperback. I'll try and include a picture of the paperback here, which I do not like. But hopefully this one will be good, and I'm going to try and read it soon. So let's keep walking. Hello, I thought I'd do this next one in style. I make myself laugh. Question 3 is a book set in the polar regions, and I have 3. They're all children's books. The birds are really singing, it's beautiful. So number 1 is The Abominables by Eva Ibbotson. I love Eva Ibbotson. I've read lots of her books, and I'm just about to start reading The Secret Countess, which sounds really good. But The Abominables is really sweet. It was a book published after she died, so the manuscript, I believe, was found amongst her things. But I think she intended it to be published, and it's about this girl called Agatha who gets kidnapped by Yetis, only to find out that the father Yeti needs someone to help teach his young Yetis manners. So it's perhaps slightly dated, but it is a really sweet story. Number 2 is The Slippery Slope by Lemony Snicket. A lot of S's there. This is book number 10, I believe, in the series of Unfortunate Events, which is a brilliant series. I highly recommend it. I only read it for the first time recently. I know, shock, horror. And I absolutely loved it. It's funny, it's really compulsively readable, they're so entertaining. But The Slippery Slope is set in the Alps when the Baudelaire children and Count Olaf go on yet another perilous adventure. And then book number 3 is a series. It's His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, and I'm thinking particularly of Northern Lights. Northern Lights was my favourite of the trilogy, and it's set in the North Pole, and I absolutely love it. I gave it 5 stars, so definitely have a look at that one if you haven't read them already. Question 4. What are your opinions on the relationship between book consumerism and the environment? Did you just hear that owl? I shouldn't be that excited about an owl, the wonders of nature. Should people buy fewer physical books to help minimise deforestation, for example? I've thought long and hard about this, and I think it's a very tricky question. Personally, I need books. They are my lifeline. And while I can't be 100% sure, I don't think they have quite as negative an impact on the environment as the fast fashion industry, for example. The good thing about a book is once it's created, it's a complete thing. You don't need to charge it, you don't need to change its batteries. That story is printed and contained, and it can be enjoyed numerous times. What I would say is that I don't think people should buy fewer physical books, but I think people should buy fewer new books. Sorry, really loud plane. Because you can get so many good books from charity shops.
I'm slightly distracted by the Airbus.
So even though I work in a bookshop, I buy most of my books from charity shops. Not only are they cheaper, but you're giving that book a second life. You can then redonate it or you can pass it on. I learnt a really interesting fact the other day. I was watching a live stream with Lena Norms and Savage Reads, Simon, who are 2 of my favourite booktubers. And Simon said that the average successful paperback only sells 600 copies in the UK. That's data from Nielsen Bookscan. 600 copies though, that doesn't sound like very much at all. So really, I think that to cut down the environmental effect of books, fewer books should be printed, because there are just so many books being printed. And while that's wonderful, they can't all be read. There are thousands. There are so many. So I think in answer to that question, my top tips are buy books from charity shops, go to the library as well. Having fun ain't hard when you got a library card, because then you can return it. Listen to audiobooks if you can, and that I also think fewer books should be printed. But anyway, let's keep going. Oh, my bum really hurts from sitting on that tree. Hello again. I think I might be sitting on someone's house. Maybe a badger or a fox. So I'm trying to be quiet. But question 5, this is a really interesting one. What role do you think books and reading have in regard to educating people about the environment? Do you think it is the most effective way to teach people about environmental issues? I think books play a really crucial role in teaching people about the environment, particularly children. I've seen lots of picture books talking about environmental issues, which I think needs to be approached in a cautious way. Because with a child, you want the book to be really exciting and you don't want to feel like you're shoving an agenda down a child's throat. Like there's a book called Somebody Swallowed Stanley, following the life of a plastic bag in the ocean, which I think is great, but it is quite on the nose, and I don't know whether I would have wanted to read about that as a child, because children are having so many moral lessons spoken to them, told at them all the time, that sometimes they just need to be able to be children. That's not to say that environmental books aren't important. I think they absolutely are. But I think they should be a theme and they should be part of a wider, interesting plot with interesting characters. I also don't know if books are always the best way to teach people about the environment, because I don't know about you, but I'm very much a fiction person. I really enjoy a biography, like an autobiography, but non-fiction books seem to take me quite a long time to get into. I struggle to motivate myself to keep going with them. I'm also not drawn to them. So I've bought a lot of non-fiction books about societal issues, about climate change, but I've just never got round to reading them, because if I've got the option of choosing a fiction book over a non-fiction book, I'd always go with that. I think documentaries are a really good way forwards. I have watched documentaries which have moved me to tears and seriously given me sort of a poke in the arse to get on with activism. And I don't often have books that move me to tears. When it happens, it means it's a really fantastic book, but it doesn't happen very often. So I would really recommend Okja, which takes a look at the meat industry, but through a fictional narrative. It's absolutely brilliant. It's very upsetting, so put your guard up. But it does have some funny moments as well. Anything by David Attenborough, obviously brilliant. I love Blue Planet. Greta's got a series out at the moment, Greta Thunberg, which is meant to be fantastic. I haven't watched that yet. So I think documentaries, especially Netflix ones, are a really good way of talking to younger audiences. I also think there should be more audiobooks of non-fiction books about climate change. Personally, I need something quite visually arresting and engaging, or something with a fictitious narrative which speaks a lot of truth. That always interests me more than just standard non-fiction. So I hope that answered the question. Let's keep going. Hello! I'm perching on this very unstable bit of wood, so I'm going to try and keep this quick, but can you see the bluebells? I just think they're beautiful. So question 6, have you read a non-fiction book on climate change that you think we should all read? I haven't. I haven't, but my mum has read a book called Losing Eden, which she recommended to me. I actually bought it for her, but she really enjoyed it. But apparently this lady goes through all of this research, but in a really accessible way, about what a profound effect the natural world has on us as human beings. And she also talks about her own experiences. So I'm definitely going to read that one. And now I'm going to get up because this is a really uncomfortable position, but I hope you enjoyed the bluebells. I think I might be lost. And I'm lost in the woods. Let's hope I can find my way back. I went a really long way trying to find bluebells. So, the joys of nature. Hopefully I can find my way back to the path. Try not to fall over. You're seeing the real side of this video now. Question 7. Where is the most beautiful place you've ever read a book? And I can't think of one example that springs to mind, but I really love beaches. And I don't mean as in I really love beaches. I think the ocean is just beautiful. I wish I lived a bit closer to one, although I can't really complain because living in the UK, you always live sort of near the ocean. But I love the seaside. I once read a book on the coast of Italy. I've only ever been to Italy once for 3 days. My friend Anya and I had a really intense mini break where we packed like a month-long holiday into 3 days. We walked about 10 miles a day and I was exhausted. But on the very last day we went to this beach. I was reading something by Frances Harding. I think that's how you say it. And that was a really beautiful place to read a book. But yes, I hope that I can do lots more reading by the seaside in my future. I actually hid a geocache here. I don't know if you can see. It's in there. That was a few months ago, but lots of people have been visiting that. The last question, question 8, is if you could live in any natural setting in a book, e.g. The 100 Acre Wood, which one would you choose and why? And I had to think about this one, but I think it's quite an easy answer. So I would pick the island from The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. As you'll know if you watched my reading wrap-up video, I loved that book. And it's got a lot of environmental themes in it that are quite integral to the book. So the protagonist, Linus Baker, starts off life in the city. It's all very grey, there's a lot of pollution, there's a lot of smog. He's very unhappy. And then he moves to this island and it's the first time he's ever seen the sea and it is just beautiful and the sun is shining. And I said in my last video that finishing that book felt like leaving home. It was such a beautiful setting and I would love to be able to visit the island in real life. I'd love to be able to visit the orphanage and meet the children and to meet Mr. Parnassus and Mr. Baker, Linus and Arthur. It was just so beautiful. I loved that book. I really did. So that's it, we did it, we made it to the end of another video. Thank you so much for watching. Well done if you've got this far. Please let me know in the comments if you have any good environmental book recommendations. If you think we should stop reading books. Do you think they're bad for the environment? I want to get some discussion going. Let me know what you thought as well, because obviously I'm trying something a bit new here and I'd love to hear whether you liked it, whether you think we should do more out and about vlogging, out and about videos. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a like and you can also hit subscribe, but only if you fancy. I hope you have a lovely week and I'll see you next time. Bye!